So let's talk about masculinity today. Let's kind of unpack that concept, my thoughts, how I'm feeling towards it, how my viewpoints have changed. Like, let's just go through all of it, right? Before I transitioned, my view on masculinity was a lot different. And like, it's also hard because I was young too. Like, I feel like since I transitioned in my 20s, and like, obviously at some point in your 20s, you start to have more sense because your frontal lobe kicks in. Like, it just was easier to unpack things. But I also feel like, had I not transitioned, my viewpoints would probably be still very rooted in like toxic masculinity or misogyny. Even though those were not systems that like benefited me or like I could benefit from in any way. I feel like when I was younger, I feel like I was a lot more susceptible to media in the sense of like, I could watch a TV show or watch a movie and be like, okay, this is how the real world is. I internalized like everything that was being portrayed in the media I was consuming as like, okay, so that's, this is black and white. These are the rules basically of society, which I think that's kind of media's purpose in a little bit of a way. But now that I'm older, I'm able to differentiate like, this is not real. People shouldn't act this way, or like, just basically be able to separate, something that is created for viewing versus how we should be acting as individuals in a society. But being a kid and growing up like trans, but not realizing I was trans, like I would watch, media, but I would see myself or align more with like the male characters in whatever I was watching. So without realizing it, in a way, I began to internalize these habits or traits that were deemed as masculine as a way of like validating my sexuality or like my gender to the outside world. Do y'all get what I'm saying? Like, I started to adopt these traits on because I wanted those around me to be like, oh, Nick is kind of like a guy, or Nick is more like a guy. Like, that was like what my goal was without realizing it. And I feel like since transitioning, I don't feel the need to perform masculinity as much because it's like more easily validated, right? Like, I can go out in the street and 9 times out of 10, like, there's gonna be always one person for some reason that's like, hey ma'am, but everyone else, usually 9 times out of 10, it's like I'm passing it in public. So people are using the right pronouns, people are using the proper like masculine terms, or stuff like that. So it's like, okay, cool. I do feel like there's still a part of me that's still unlearning a lot of those performing actions, because like now I don't feel like I need them, but I feel like it's like almost ingrained in me to like revert back to them, especially in situations where I feel like unsafe, in the sense of like, oh, if I don't act a certain way, I'm gonna be like outed, right? Like someone will be like, wait, you're not a real man, which like, what even is a real man? Honestly, most of y'all are not even real men. Let's get into that. Like, I feel like, oh, see, now I'm gonna get sidetracked. This is why I gotta be waiting. But I'm like, no, let's unpack it. Let's talk about it. Like, what is a real man, and why do y'all let that like have such like a chokehold on you? Like, now that I'm mask presenting and like and identifying as like not really a man, I still feel non-binary, because I just feel like the definition of man that like our society goes by, I'm just like, I'm so much more than that. Like, that's just kind of like meh to me. But like, I feel like if I could put y'all inside my head to make you understand how I feel, it would almost be like as if I was like born a boy, but like still became non-binary at some point in my life. Like just a balance of the feminine and the masculine, and just like okay with both, okay with being a man and a woman, but neither and both at the same time. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, that's okay too. But yeah, I feel like What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, what is a real man? Sorry, y'all, I get sidetracked, so just bear with me. But yeah, I feel like now it is so, I don't know, like, often you hear cis men in society say like, oh, I didn't know how to be a good man because like, I didn't have a dad, or my dad wasn't a good representation of what it meant to be a man. So I just was always looking for like, how to be a good man, or like how to be a man from like the other men in my life and stuff like that. And I'm just like, for a little bit of a point, I kind of felt that way. But then at the same time, I was just like, I just look at those things and I'm just like, okay, well, I just don't want to be like that. Like, I can't say that I've had a good example, 100% a good example of like one man in my life that I've been like, you have every single characteristic that I wish to embody and I want to be seen as someone who's just like you. I can't say I've met one man like that, because it's like either you're like physically abusive or mentally abusive, emotionally manipulative, have anger issues, or like violent or emotionally inept, like just completely like so we're trying to come across as like emotionally void when it's like that's not the case. I feel like, oh, there's my cat, y'all, hold on. Toby, I'm here. You couldn't see me? Hello. Good morning. You was taking a nap? Yeah, you was taking a nap. Good morning. Good morning to the baby. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, I can't say I've seen one example, like 100% of like, oh yeah, but that doesn't mean that like I'm not growing into a good man every single day, or that I'm not like trying to become one every single day. And I don't feel like you necessarily need an example to do that, because I'm like, you can just look at those bad examples and just be like, I don't want to be like that. What steps do I need to take to ensure I'm not like that? And I feel like a lot of like cis men and even like trans men, I feel like I used to, like back when I was still on Twitter, follow a lot of like trans guys, or just like, masculine presenting women and stuff like that. And like the amount of like toxic masculinity in those communities is actually nuts. But I feel like we are all just like grappling at something to then like validate our identities, And that's fine and all, but I just feel like we all as a society just need to move past that. Like, it does not serve anybody, because it harms, obviously, like women, children. I mean, women with an X, meaning like, all femme present, or like all people who are like kind of born as a woman at birth and kind of in some way identify in that way, or like non-binary folk. But it also harms like people who identify as male or who were born male, and like all trans folk. Like, it harms everyone in society, because we live in like a society that upholds like the patriarchy. So it's just like, as long as like this toxic masculinity thing is like as big of a pandemic as like COVID, like we will not be able to prosper as a society. Because it's like, you can, now that I'm perceived as a man, I can do like the bare minimum and everyone's like, wow, he's such a good guy. Like I met a lot of my partner's like extended family over the holidays, and everyone was like so blown away, and I'm like, guys, like I'm not, like, yes, I do, like, let me not negate like the work I personally have done and the work that my partner has done to help me be the like man that I'm perceived to be today, because that was a lot of hard work. And I feel like that's the disconnect, is a lot of men or people who are like who identify as men and stuff like that aren't doing the hard work because it's hard. Why would I do that hard work, as like, I'm not saying myself, but like thinking as like these people, why would I do that work when I benefit even if I don't do the work? Like, even if you're seen as a bad guy, like you're a shitty man or something like that, you'll still get jobs, you'll still have opportunities, like you'll still find a partner, someone will still want to be with you, even if it puts them through hell. And like, you might not be happy, but you'll at least have somebody, you know, like there's still always going to be someone who's like, oh, but at least he does this, or at least he does that. And it's like, the bar is really on the floor. So like, there's really no incentive for men to want to get better, or want to do better, or want to like be better. But I personally don't want to do that. I personally love my partner. I don't want to put her through that. I don't want to, you know, do that to people I like interact with in society. Like, I just personally also just enjoy trying to be as good of a person as I can be. Like, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm just saying, like, I actively make it a mission every year to be better than I was the year before. And that's not easy work. And a lot of men are just like, well, I don't have to do that. I don't want to do that. And I won't do that. Okay, great. For you, just stay, you know, like, can we have like I don't even want to say jail, because obviously I want to like abolish the prison system, but I'm like, just like a space where y'all could just do that. If you don't want to like work on yourself as a man, you go over there on that island until you like work your way out of it type shit, you know? Like, I don't know. But it's just like, it's so easy to be perceived as like a good man. Like, people are always like telling my partner like, oh, you're so lucky. Like, I'm lucky too. Y'all just don't see that because it's like, there's a plethora of like good women or like good female presenting people. Like, you almost have to get, you know, chosen or get anywhere in society. It's almost like the same conversation as like race. Because I know some of the men who like maybe see this will purposely be dense and be like, rah, 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 rah. But like, especially black men, like, I know y'all know what it's like for like to be oppressed in that way of like, there's this white man and he's gonna get shit over you, and it's just because he's white. It's like the same type of thing. There's no advantage for the white man to do the hard work to unlearn all the oppressive tactics and like mentalities that he might have, because he benefits from that system. Same thing as men. But it's like, once you acknowledge it and you don't do anything to work towards dismantling it, like, that makes you feel like shit, doesn't it? It makes you feel like a bad person or like a little bit guilty. And you just don't want to live with that. But that doesn't mean that like you're going to be happy in your life. Like, I just truly don't feel like you can be happy being that type of person. Like, you'll pretend for your entire life. You'll probably end up alone, realistically. Like, it's those like old, like sad, lonely men that everyone's like, oh, look at that old man, he's all alone. Yeah, it's probably because he was a fucking domestic terrorist to his family. His kids are probably putting him in a home. The wife either died prematurely from all the shit he put her through, or they finally got a divorce and she's like out, hopefully living her best life. And he's now all alone, doesn't have access to anyone in the family or the grandkids, and it's just like, I realize now what I've done. You're 75. You could have stopped this cycle so long ago, and you chose not to. So here's the repercussions of your actions, you know? And it's like, if you want to end up like that, fine. But me personally, I want to keep my partner. I don't want to put her through hell. I don't want to let my toxic masculinity or like anything I could be doing to uphold patriarchal values to like tear her down or bring her down or be something she has to struggle with. And then, like, she already has to struggle with, like, day-to-day life and, like, working or just being, like, a brown, bigger-bodied woman in America that's also queer. Like, I'm not adding more to her plate. And a lot of y'all are doing that to your partners. So it's, like, I don't know. I do hope we see, like, a change, because it has been, like, centuries of, like, men just being the way they are, and, like, you know, obviously, why would they stop? But I just hope at this point, I don't know, maybe we could just ban them or something. I don't know. Ban all men until we figure out what's going on. I don't know. I mean, we know what's going on. It's just, they don't want to work on that. So, I don't know. That's just me. And I just also feel like I don't have to, you know, it's hard. I'll be honest, it's hard in situations where I'm, like, surrounded by men or, like, interacting with men that, like, exhibit those behaviors. Like, I don't chime in with that, like, you know, like, say, locker room talk or, like, anything, like, kind of, like, gross like that. But I do feel like sometimes I have to, like, for safety reasons, I feel like I have to, like, you know, kind of butch it up a bit. Give him a little butch queen realness. But I just don't even want to feel like I have to do that anymore. I just feel like I don't, like, in my head, I don't pass. Even though a lot of people in society who don't know me are just like, oh, that's a man. It's just like in my head, I don't know. I'm still not, like, mentally 100% there yet, but I don't feel like I need to be anymore. I just also don't live in a state that has protections for trans people, so pardon me if I just want to not get hate crimed. But, you know, it's really not funny. But, yeah. I don't know. Those are the only times I feel like I have to, like, you know, just be a little bit more mask. Just to, like, feel, like, safer. Because, like, people are also just unhinged. And I feel like that's another thing that, like, if we unpacked, like, toxic masculinity, and by we I meant, like, men, like, trans men, cis men, non-binary people who, like, are mask presenting that may have those, like, toxic attributes and stuff like that. If we unpack that, then you also wouldn't have to perform masculinity either. Like, especially now that, like, I'm interacting with more, like, I'm cis-assuming, because some of them could have been trans and I didn't know, but cis-assuming men, I'm just like, you guys are, like, all kind of pretending. Like, this is actually kind of funny. Like, I don't think y'all want to be as masculine as you're trying to come off either, because it gives, like, fake a lot of the times. Like, oh, yeah, did you see the game last night, brother? You probably would have rather watched Dancing with the Stars or, like, RuPaul's Drag Race, but instead you made yourself watch a basketball game. Why? Just, like, enjoy what you enjoy. That doesn't make you less of a man. It doesn't make you gay. It doesn't make you this. It doesn't make you that. Like, the only thing that makes you gay is wanting to suck. And even then, that doesn't even really make you gay, because, like, it would have to be a dick attached to a man. That would make you a little bit gay. Or, like, wanting to explore your homeboy's body, like, that makes you gay. But, you know, wanting to, like, you know, like, not performing society's idea of masculinity. Like, have you ever noticed how, like, cis men all dress? Like, it's just kind of boring, honestly. Like, y'all don't even really like it, but you almost feel like if you experiment a little bit too much, or you do a little bit too much pizzazz, oh, he's gay. Like, no. If we unpack all of this as a society, you won't have to live with that insane amount of pressure anymore. Do you know how much happier you'd be without that weighing on your shoulders every day? Feeling like, oh, I gotta provide, I gotta do this, I gotta do that to be seen as a man. Like, if you feel like a man, then you're a man. You don't need to do all of this crazy, like, oppressive hoopla, like abusing women or, like, cheating or, you know, hypersexualizing, like, everything and everyone to be seen as a man. Society has moved past the need for that. We need to leave that. Honestly, it should have been left a long time ago, like 1802, but okay. Y'all didn't have social media. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Let's leave it in 2024. Let's leave toxic masculinity. Let's leave hypersexualization. Let's leave upholding the patriarchy. Like, we all suffer. Y'all want to act like you don't, but you do. We're all suffering. Let's just pick it up and move it over there and work towards a future without it. I'm just saying. Because me, I'm feeling free. I don't know about y'all, but I'm feeling pretty free. I don't feel like that oppressive weight anymore. And it's like the most toxic, like the time I had the most toxic masculinity was when I was like I was still identifying as like a female, but I was like masculine presenting and like dating women. And it's like I felt like I had to do these things that like were seen as like, oh, that's what guys do. And it's like, I hated that shit. I hated being in those situations. I didn't really like doing it. I didn't really like being that way. And I feel like it just gave people a certain like perception of me that I appreciated more. Like, oh, Nick's one of the guys. Like I once had a friend tell me like a misogynistic joke and then be like, oh, but like, you know, I wouldn't tell you like that joke if you were like, you know, a real girl, like a regular girl. And this is before I even was like trans or anything. And in the moment, I was like, wow. But then after, I was like, damn. Like, that's kind of crazy to say. And it's just like, you know, like, yeah, it was cool to be part of the guys' group chats and, like, stuff like that. That gave me gender euphoria. Like, it made me feel like, oh, yeah, like, they see me as one of the guys. But it's like the amount of performing I had to do, or felt like I had to do, to keep that up, like, exhausting. And it's like, now I feel like I'm a man whether or not, like, y'all want to validate that. I'm a man whether or not y'all want to, like, acknowledge that or believe it. Like, whether or not I act a little bit femme on some days or more masc on other days. Like, I can just let my energy just come and go and flow how they want to. And that is so freeing. Y'all would feel so much better if you gave yourself the chance to live that freedom. And yes, I get it. It's hard in our society because of how oppressive our society is. But if everyone collectively decided to stop oppressing, oh my gosh, look guys, it's a utopia. We're all in peace. How nice would that be? Like, it almost triggers you to think of how nice that would feel or how comfortable you would be if you could just be your true self, or just give yourself the freedom to explore that. Because a lot of people would be like, well, I genuinely just like wearing, you know, cargo shorts and an Assault Life t-shirt and flip-flops. Okay, great. I'm glad that's your style of choice. But how do you know you wouldn't like dressing a slightly different way? Or like, you know, maybe you would like a skirt. Maybe you would like a pair of heels or something. That doesn't make you gay. It doesn't make you, like, queer. It just means you're, like, dressing. Honestly, put that shit on. Try it out. See how you feel. And it's like, you shouldn't do all of that and then feel like you're going to go outside and someone's going to beat the crap out of you. Like, hello. It's not fair, y'all. It's not right. Let people be themselves. And then maybe cis men won't be the domestic terrorists that they are. Because I know you're all tired. I know you're all tired. And by you all, I mean everybody. I'm just saying. You know, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just giving y'all the message. I'm just saying. We could all be in so much peace if everyone just had the freedom to explore who they are freely without any, like, labels or, like, judgment or, like, physical or emotional repercussions from society. But yeah, my name's Nick, and that's been my TED Talk for today. Thanks for watching, and feel free to drop something in the comments if you have any comments, questions, or concerns. Like, let's chat, let's talk about it. I don't want to argue with y'all. I'm not here to argue, but if you have any confusion, let me know, because that could be something that we address, we could talk about. If you have any similar comments or similar thoughts, drop it. Let's expand on it, you know? Let's just talk, y'all. Let's just be a fun little learning community together. All right. See y'all on the next one.